Story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Midday, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on CoreTV News on the hour. I am Ebulomo Adekunle. The police have intercepted a 10-year-old suicide bomber along the Zaria Road in Katsina State. She was one of the 3 suspects arrested late at night at a checkpoint. Paya Samuel has more on the arrest.
It's the regular briefing on the security situation in the country by security forces. And with journalists eager to get updates on events of recent days, the coordinator of the National Information Center revealed that a 10-year-old suicide bomber is in custody.
Security forces on Tuesday, July 29, 2014, at about 10 p.m. along Zaria Road, Tudumuda area of Funtua Metropolis, arrested 3 suspects believed to be members of the Boko Haram sect. The 3 suspects included a male named Ilya Ahiru and 2 females, Zainab Musa, 18 years, and Hadiza Musa, 10 years old. The 3 suspects were arrested in a Honda CRV car. When they were directed to disembark for security checks, 10-year-old Hadiza was discovered to have been strapped with an explosive belt. And immediately, Ilya and Zainab made attempt to escape with the car, but were later blocked by other concerned Nigerians and subsequently arrested.
While the briefing was on, news filtered in that another suicide bomber had struck in Kano. The authorities admit that it's a new strategy designed to beat security checks.
The reasons why established international terrorist organizations go for female suicide bombers is clear. The major reason is because women generally raise fewer suspicion, particularly when there are security layers. And so they take advantage of the fact that women raise fewer suspicion to try to indoctrinate and recruit female suicide bombers. The suspicion even become much lesser if the woman in question is a minor.
It is clear that some parents are so into this that they are willing to also take their families, children as young as 10 years, into this act of cowardice and self-destruct. However, we wish to express our appreciation at the level of consciousness of Nigerians on security issues and their contributions to supporting security agencies.
Now that insurgents are using young female suicide bombers, security forces want Nigerians to remain vigilant. They also want parents to pay more attention to the movement of their children and words so that they won't be used by insurgents. Paya Samuel, CoreTV News, Abuja.
The police have confirmed that a female suicide bomber detonated the bomb that killed at least 6 people on the campus of the Kano State Polytechnic. Police Commissioner Adirele Shinaba told journalists at the bomb scene that efforts are on to check the new tactic adopted by insurgents who have devised a means of using female suicide bombers.
Well, the general assessment is that we are in very difficult times, a situation where we have a new dimension of suicide bombing, and this one that happened here at the administrative block of the Kano State Polytechnic on Bayero University Kano Road, which just occurred some few moments ago. It calls for vigilance on the part of each and every one of us, because we have tried as much as possible for deployment of policemen everywhere. You can see this spot, that's where we have our police checkpoint. Because what we require most now is intelligence. Intelligence, vigilance on the part of everybody. It is a fight for all of us. And even where you have policemen, military men all over the place, I think we still require information as well as vigilance on the part of each and every one of us to ensure that, because a situation where somebody is carrying explosives on the body, when you look at the person, what is the business of such a person in this type of a school where people are coming to check the results of NYC deployment? That's the graduates of this school who are going for batch A NYC. So when you are around that place, when you see somebody who is looking like a primary school or at best a junior secondary school student, more so that we have been telling everybody about the issue of female teenage suicide bombers, I think it should call for attention of the law enforcement agents.
Chibok community leaders have admitted that the presidency doled out money to parents of the abducted schoolgirls and some of the girls that escaped from insurgents. Representative of the community said at a press briefing in Abuja that the money was delivered at midnight by presidential aid. They, however, insist that none of the community leaders benefited from the government's fund.
We therefore make public our findings regarding these allegations as follows. 1. On the night of the 22nd of July 2014, at about midnight, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Special Duties, who had been coordinating the visit on the side of the presidency, visited the hotel and told the 51 escaped girls who came that the presidency sent them a token of 100,000 naira each, and accordingly gave them the said money without even a prior discussion or knowledge of the cadre officials or any other person in the community that were around the vicinity of the hotel. Number 2, the Senior Special Assistant equally gave the sum of 200,000 naira each to 61 parents out of the 122 that came on the visit. 51 parents were given 100,000 naira each on the basis that the money given to him was not enough to go around at the agreed amount of 200,000. The remaining 10 parents were not given any money at all. You can do the maths. As for the money given to some parents back home in Chibok, which is also in the media and public domain, it was the sum of 1 million naira that was given in cash by the honorable member of the House of Representatives representing Chibok, Damboa, Goza, actually federal constituency, which is the source of the alleged 7,000 naira given to parents back home in Chibok, which is also tearing them apart, unfortunately.
The federal government says it will host a dinner to raise funds for victims of terror attacks in the country. This was one of the decisions taken at the Federal Executive Council meeting in Abuja. Briefing newsmen after the meeting, Information Minister Labaran Mako said the dinner slated for Thursday is one of a series of fundraising initiatives for Boko Haram activities.
To the Government of Federation Brief Council on preparations for the launching tomorrow, for the fundraising tomorrow to raise funds for the Victims of Terrorism Foundation, which was earlier floated by Mr. President. The SGF informed us that tomorrow the President will host a fundraising dinner here at the Presidential Banquet Hall for the private sector, for international foundations and funding agencies, as well as for all Nigerians to contribute to the fund, which is specifically floated to support victims of terrorism in our country. Mr. President himself told us in council that this launch is so significant, and he urged all Nigerians, particularly citizens who are in business, who have the opportunity to make contribution, to do something for our less fortunate citizens who have fallen victim to terror. What is significant about this foundation is that the funding will be managed independently of government. Government is not going to be the one to manage the funds that are raised, but the committee will be providing funding based on a mechanism that will track those who have been affected by terror and will provide support for them.
Reactions continue to trail the outbreak of Ebola disease across the West African sub-region, with governments and citizens on high alert against the spread of the disease. The Nigerian government has gone a step further with strict measures on border checks. Even airlines have restricted flights to infected countries. Nigerians speak on cautionary tips.
Government should educate its citizens about the disease on TV, on newspaper, on magazines. It should be everywhere. They should make sure even people at the village level know about this disease to avoid its spread, and they should also know about the prevention.
Our suggestion to Nigeria is that we should always wash our hands, take good care of ourselves. Whatsoever thing you are doing, you should know that there is a disease that is. Just inform us about it, and we should always keep on washing our hands with soap and others.
Okay, the personal precaution I've taken is just to be careful about my environment, keep everywhere clean, make sure I wash my hands before eating and all that. So, and then not actually having contact with people I don't really know and all that, handshakes and hugs and all that.
There are so many foreigners here without proper, documents. I think it should be proper. People that are coming to this country should be properly checked, and we hope that it doesn't get worse and a solution is found.
They had ventured out in their hundreds to stock up on provisions during exceptional calm in the fighting in Gaza, and were crowded into Shajaya market when the explosions hit. Moments later, there were scenes of utter carnage with bodies strewn across the streets and blood everywhere. Some said it was an airstrike, others said it was tank fire. 17 people were killed and more than 200 wounded as the Israeli army said it was observing a 4-hour humanitarian ceasefire. Ambulances raced towards the site of the blast as medics and residents tried to gather up the dead bodies. Even civilian cars were used to evacuate the dead and the wounded. Earlier, 16 people were killed when 2 Israeli tank shells slammed into a United Nations school in Jabalia refugee camp in the north in an attack angrily denounced by the UN chief and the World Body Agency for Palestinian Refugees. And that's the news for this hour. Join us again top of the hour for more reports. Thank you for watching. I am Ebulomo Adikunle.